very high priorities. Since unfortunately this is your last meeting, you did get it just under the wire.
I did,
you did
yes.
get it. That's an important thing. So thank you. I think adopting sound financial policies and making explicit the guidelines that we use to manage our finances and our budget is very important. It holds the organization accountable. It gives the board a standard to measure the performance of the agency in managing its finances. But I think most importantly is its information for the public to understand all that goes into managing organizations successfully. And so I think this is a critical job. We did get a draft policy at the Finance Committee, and Beth had asked for comments, and I did get some comments to her.
And that's reflected in what you have.
Okay, and so that's the October 8th draft. I will say, I think most of my comments were primarily wordsmithing,
they were good comments.
And to clarify, make things a little bit more explicit. So I think, I strongly support the proposed policy. One of the discussions we had at the Finance Committee is the fact that the board has set as one of its goals putting together a strategic financial plan for the agency, and we are working on that. We're moving in that direction. And so one of the questions is, how does this policy relate to that strategic financial plan? And it's entirely likely, and I would say highly probable, that there will be another set of policies that will come out of that effort. And we talked about a little bit about, well, do we hold off on doing this now, or and wait for this larger effort, or is it okay to bring this forward? And we decided it was okay to bring this one forward at this time in advance of the work that we're doing, because this really is a key building block for our financial management and building the budget, which unfortunately the agency is going to be starting on here very shortly. It's a lot of work goes into putting that budget together. So I will say personally, one of the elements that I am a little bit concerned about, and quite honestly I'll be looking at very closely in the strategic financial plan, is I do believe this agency needs an equipment reserve, replacement reserve. And in the past, and not just Trimet, I think every agency I've been associated with are saying when you get into tough financial times, one of the first strategies seems to be, let's cut back on maintenance, let's cut back on replacement, and it gets you, it works in the short term, it is a terrible long-term strategy. And I've seen too many agencies paying the price, and in a sense we're doing that now because we are in the catch-up phase. And that always has to be followed with a catch-up phase. So it's going to be a priority as we work through of mine as we go through this strategic financial plan to really look at developing a good equipment replacement policy. I think there will be several other policies that will come out. Looking at, for example, fair revenue as a percentage of overall revenues. But those will really get fleshed out as we go through that larger effort. So I do strongly support this effort. I really do thank you, Beth, for your leadership and bringing this forward. And I'm very willing to vote in favor of this policy. So thank you.
I guess I should say that part of member of the Finance and Audit Committee too. We had a good discussion of this, and if Director Schweitzer were here, she was here, she would tell you that this is a good piece of work also. I think it was felt there was a lot of discussion about delaying it until after some additional work was done, but I think the belief of the committee was that it's something we ought to move forward. So maybe you covered out why I had to leave the room, that the intent was to bring it here to expose you to it, to talk about it, but come back, I think, in the end of September, the business meeting in September, to actually look at adoption of this. So you'll have another opportunity as a board to actually look at this in some more detail and see if it makes sense to you. But overall, I think the committee felt it was a good piece of work, made some sense. And as it said, it's going to change every other year or so. I think that's something that will be a living document that the board will be looking at based on its financial condition as we move forward. And I think your strategic financial plan will help us a lot in terms of getting a better handle on some of these things we need to look at. So again, we thank you. We're going to miss you. We wish you well in your new position. I know you will enjoy Mercy Corps. It's a great organization with a great mission.
Thank you. Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the board. I don't think people, I've said this to many of you, I don't think people thank you enough. You come here twice a month. You do a lot of work in between. I don't think people have any idea how much effort and time you volunteer on behalf of the public. And you hear many opinions, and many of them not happy, coming from different directions. And you do a great job of thinking about the benefit to the region and the riders in the long term. And it's been a real pleasure working with you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did check. Was there any other comments or thoughts down here at this end? Okay.
I think you're headed in the right direction,
Yeah.
especially around the capitalization accounts and stuff like possibly insurance liability, general insurance, right, as well as we know
Right.
I have just a comment. First, I'd just like to say thank you, Beth, as well, and for taking the time when I had questions in the very beginning coming on the board. So I thank you, and I know your passion is to make sure that as you're leaving, Trimet has a solid foundation.
Yes.
So I support that. And I'm glad to hear that we're going to be talking about this again in September.
Yes.
Okay, so because I'd like, it's the first time I've seen this, would like to review it and talk with you about questions I have.
Sure.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks again. Okay, I think that concludes the briefing portion of our agenda. It does. So we do have some people that would like to provide some input to us during the public forum. I believe I have 4 people signed up. I am going to ask you to please honor the 3-minute time restriction on it, so we can get you in here and we can move forward and get out of here as quickly as possible, but also want to make sure we have time to hear your concerns. So the first person on the list is Paulette Rossi. Welcome. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a few years.
Hello, I'm Paulette Rossi. I have traveled over 1 million miles on Trimet since I began riding on September 27, 1971 as a Portland State student. Being mass transit dependent, I have celebrated every new technology that has made my rides safer, faster, and more comfortable. Thus, it is difficult to accept that on September 4th, the single low-floor bus that disabled riders like myself have enjoyed for 3 years, alternating its runs on lines 22 Park Rose, 23 San Rafael, and 25 Rockwood from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. will be replaced with a bus with steps purchased in the 1980s. In press releases detailing the September arrival of over 50 new low-floor buses, Trimet described the old bus that will replace our low bus as, quote, uncomfortable for riders and operators and unreliable and expensive to maintain. The low bus that is being replaced with a bus with steps serves riders with grocery carts to visit food banks operated by Snowcap, Adventist Community Services, and Crossroads Church Pantry. It carries riders to the Gateway Medical Corridor of the Oregon Clinic, the Providence Urgent Care, and soon Kaiser. This low-floor bus brings to the Gateway Shopping Center the disabled like me, whose compression fractures fill every bump and rattle on older buses with steps. Surely there is a single low-floor bus in the fleet to continue operating between bus 22, 23, and 25. After all, every time the other old buses with steps on these lines breaks down, a low floor is sent to pick up the riders. We are not asking that every bus on these outer East Portland lines be low floor. We are just asking to continue what we have had for 3 years. the option of one low-floor bus to meet our needs from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. The removal of our single regularly scheduled low-floor bus come September can only mean the Trimet rolls in reverse and not forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
We'll look into
Okay,
that
thank you, yes.
scheduling issue. Yeah.
Yes, since I don't know much about the design of the new buses, but it's nice to understand that.
And again, we're really looking forward to those new buses and the transition of the entire fleet to low floor over the next few years. And sort of is a great segue to Board Member Prosser's question or comment about capital replacement.
Okay, good.
We'll look into it.
Hey, it's a simple request. You're lucky, so. A lot simpler than other ones.
I have Alex Hawk, a student.
Yes.
Come on up, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Alex Hawk. I'm a frequent Trimet choice rider of lines 12, 94. Occasionally I ride 76, 56, 14, 10, 96, 58, 20, and 72. I like riding the bus. I think it's very scenic for the most part. And with the rising cost of gas, I really can't afford to maintain a vehicle. First, I'd like to offer my deepest condolences to Doris Bohanna, who was the rail supervisor hurt in, I think, the accident that occurred on Sunday. Wishing for a speedy recovery on that. First, I'd like to talk about, I think something needs to be done about the age of the bus fleet. According to an outside source, 30% of Trimet buses are long overdue for replacement. And according to the FTA, a bus for a public transport agency as big as Trimet is due for replacement every 12 years or every 500,000 miles, whichever comes first. Yet this morning I rode on a 22-year-old Gillig Phantom high-floor bus, and it didn't sound too healthy. It started rattling around, and I was having a conversation with the operator on where I should take on which bus to get here from where I get off downtown. It was very hard to listen to them because all the windows were rattling and made things a little difficult. I'm very happy to hear about the purchase of 55 new Gillig 3000 buses, and I'm even more excited to hear that 14 more are being purchased and will enter service at the end of September. I look forward to hitching a ride on one of those. So I think something needs to be done about, the high floor buses and the conditions of them, because they're very expensive to maintain. And did anyone take the bus here? I'm curious. Yes, very good. Neil, very good. Because I think in order to actually see and experience, I think to actually know the conditions of the buses, you have to ride on it. Because if you're not riding on it, how can you know what your passengers are saying? Because I know a lot of passengers who are in wheelchairs and they don't find the high floor buses to be efficient, and I'm seeing a lot of high floors on the 12 route, which is what I take the most. Finally, the ticket machine situation. I know this has kind of been a notorious thing for many years. I know the official motto is that 93 to 95% of the machines are working at any given time, but I'm really finding that hard to believe because almost daily on my commute, I'm seeing at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 machines at any platform that says only taking cards or only taking bills or cash or exact fare. And if it's only giving you that option, I really don't consider that to be functional. So, and I'd like to conclude by saying that I think Trimet needs to embrace the Twitter account that they are using and use it a little bit more for service alerts other than Max Light Rail, because I think it was a couple weeks ago, wasn't it 10 routes that were canceled out of Powell? Was it that?
Could be. I'm not trained.
Okay. Well, a couple bus routes were canceled, and that left a lot of riders, clueless. And I think with the growth of social media, Trimet could really use something like Twitter for quick responses for riders who really do need help. And, I can ask a question and then I receive a reply about a day later. Well, that's great. That would have helped when I was actually riding the bus. So, thank you for your time, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate your comments. Albert Rouse?
Got a little humor before I get up there. Ordered bus 82 in Holgate this morning. Requested a stop at headquarters is how I addressed it. I don't know where he let me off the bus, but I had a heck of a walk, at least 2 bus stops to my headquarters. I'm surprised the bus operator doesn't know what headquarters is. Can I have someone help me read some of my notes, please? I'm gonna have trouble in here with the lighting. Okay. I set that over here. It's better than sending it across the room with an oops. That is a full statement. You can just read that for me. It's not very long.
I pay your salary via being a consumer, and I am an employer.
And pay the payroll taxes. Yeah. Okay. And these are just places, and I'll pick up on each one and I'll take it as short as possible. The first one says no money. I know in previous months that has been a complaint from the board and management that they don't have any money, but the following example was what hurt me. Go ahead.
No info or sign. No info and
Oh.
sign.
Southeast 82nd Division inbound. Friday, I discovered a sign attached to a pole. Dimensions are 12 by 18, I think. The bottom edge, which is 4 feet from the ground. They had the Trimet general information, the logo, and the route number. And the route number and all that other information is on the printed material that's in the bus shelters, so I see no use for that sign at all. Besides that, mounted that close to the ground, Oregon Commission for the Blind, the mobility instructors refer to those things as slicers for blind people because we walk into the edge of them and it hurts. Well, I hurt too for a little while after I hit it. Go ahead.
So, safety hazard?
I consider them a safety hazard. It really does need to be removed, and all others placed like that that are close to the ground.
Cost?
I estimate the cost of putting that sign there, who knows, counting labor, probably a couple $100. I know it's nickels and dimes, but it's still money that comes out of budget somewhere.
Marketing 50%.
And you know, marketing, I hate to say it, but if marketing comes up with more ideas like that, marketing ought to be cut staff-wise 50%.
No signage? No signage at transit station?
Oh, this is the second subject. I've been complaining for years to the CAT committee and others that there is no signage at any of the transit stations. Staff has agreed with me. Board members have agreed with me on this point. I acquired one of the number signs from a door casing from an elevator company, gave that to the CAT committee, nothing. If they could take those types of signs and apply them to the poles at the transit stations, I can find the bus stops that I need rather than having to hopefully find the passenger to clue me in on where to wait. I know 14 feet up in the air, there are those. I can only see them minutely. I can't read them.
Can't elevate the door.
Yeah, and as you leave and go down the elevator, look at the door casing as you walk in the elevator, as you leave, and as you exit the elevator. You'll see what I'm talking about. Those can be applied to the posts at all the bus stops, at all of the transit centers. I'm not referring to every bus stop on the whole route.
And casing signage. Casing signage.
Well, all right, I already said that.
And that's it.
And that's it. Thank you for your time. And I was wondering if one other favor, are you Kelly?
No, she's over there.
Oh, okay. If you could give this to the transit police people, one was giving a long statistical report. I wanted to go over something with him, but that would be on a personal thing, not at this meeting.
Thank you for coming, Albert. I appreciate your comment.
Thank you. And how I measure the dimensions of the sign is each segment of my cane is about a foot long. So that's how I came up with the 12 by 18 inches. See, there's this chair.
So Cameron, I see you have your phone out ready to go. Come on out, please. Cameron Johnson.
Is it this one or the next one?
And you want to talk about discredited?
I'm lost.
Yeah, something along those lines. It's just the general title.
Okay.
And
Okay.
first fun fact,
Okay,
I
got
got
it.
here an hour late because I was dropping my sister off at camp, and I went to go on the mats. However, it was late, so I missed the 17 I was supposed to transfer to. That's why I got here at 10. Anyway, good morning, Mr. President, board members. I'm Cameron Johnson. I am not speaking on behalf of Opal today, so if you find anything that would dampen my credibility today, it's not because of Opal. Speaking of that, last time I spoke here, I had a conversation with one of the executives about my credibility. I was told that I was either being misinformed or dishonest and that my credibility was lowered because of it. I wasn't sure what to make of it. I was partially honored I got such a response from someone so high up in power. Mostly I was just disappointed that out of all the everyday bus rides speaking to you in the last few months, the only one that anyone seems to really get a response is the one who says things that offend you. I'll tell you this though, I really wish you would discredit me. I'm serious. As it stands right now, my beliefs are that Trimet is losing its touch with the riders and is becoming an agency whose motivation lies towards construction instead of providing service to your riders and proper treatment to your drivers. You have excuse after excuse about not putting any real money towards restoring service and finding it fit to instead reassemble it. And if you run out of excuses, you blame the union. And I gotta tell you guys, I really gotta tell you, when you speak against the union and your own drivers, does it humble any of you in the slightest that you have a workforce that will work so hard and bear so much punishment from all aspects of its job, and that these are the ones providing your paycheck and your business, and you're just using it as scapegoats for the media? I have to appreciate how much these writers do, just the same way as we appreciate everything that the great Miss DeHamel has done for the business, and I applaud her for it. I have to give a hand for the amazing drivers and all they do for the business just as well, because they do so much for it. Anyway, I'm going off topic. The public is rarely heard by you. The closest they get to a conversation is the Twitter account. And hell, every once in a while, I'll just mess around with them, pull some pranks to make sure that they're human. We can't ever seem to get anything real from you. I've heard the excuses, I've heard the declarations of sympathy, the wooden ones, and none of it just seems real to me. That's the best way to describe it. It's all lifeless, it's all false, and there's a lack of credibility. So I want to offer you this chance, a real motivation factor to disprove my credibility. I'm going to make a completely outlandish statement, and I want you to discredit me. I'm going to say that I do not believe Trimet is going to restore its service, keep a moratorium on its fares, and make things right with its bus drivers. Pretty big statement, huh? So I hope you can take this chance, jump at it, and regain your credibility by discrediting me. But things have to change. The public needs a true voice and any response from a human being that truly cares. We need transparency. We need to make restoring service our priority and at least maintaining fare levels another one. You need to take a step back and just consider how damn lucky you are to have a workforce so dedicated that even with all you've been doing to them, they haven't walked out on you. And above, I'm almost done, don't worry. And above all, you need to become a transit agency again, willing to provide top-class #1 service again for bus and max. If that happens, I hope I can get a phone call from Neil McFarland telling me that I lost my credibility. And you know what I would say? I would stand up, I'd cheer, and I'd say, that's pretty amazing. And never mind my daydreaming. I may just be a smart aleck little kid who keeps showing up here and giving you hell, but that's just because I want what's best for the company and those who rely on it. That's why I often end my speeches on a sentimental note, just like this one. I cared for Trimet for 18 years, and whether or not I want to, I can't stop now.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, Cameron.
That's all I have signed up. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to provide input this morning? All right, thank you. I think we are done for today.